हांव आसा फोंतेनायस हांगा आनी गोंयचो पणजेचो हो फोंतेनास हो एरिया आसा ताका मळाय म्हणटात आनी ताका लॅटीन क्वार्टर्स म्हणटात कारण ह्या भागान भितर खूब ओल्ड इंडो पोर्चुगीज आर्किटेक्चरची घरां आसा आनी ही घरां प्रोटेक्ट जावपा खातीर ही एरिया कंजर्वेशन झोन म्हणून डिक्लेअर केल्लो आसा. सो ही घरां जी ओल्ड घरां आसा तांकां जाय तशी मॉडिफिकेशन करपाक मेळना आनी ताजे खातीर हे हांगा पावतकीच तुका पोर्तुगाला आयला कशें दिसता अशे तरेचो फिलींग ह्या एरियेन जाता आनी ही सुंदर अशी घरां बरी मेंटेन केल्ली आसा आनी ती इतली पॉप्युलर जाल्या सद्या की भारतभरच्यान लोक ट्युरिस्ट हांगा येता आनी ही जी तांची ब्युटी आसा आनी हे जे तांची स्पेशलिटी आसा युनिकनेस आसा ह्या फोंतेनासची होच ह्या एरियांतल्या लोकांचो एक हेडेक जाल्लो आसा सद्या कारण हे जे ट्युरिस्ट येता आनी खास करून इंस्टाग्रामर्स जे आसा ते येवन हांगा फोटोग्राफी करपा खातीर येता आनी तांची लायफ तांच्यांनी मिजरेबल करून उडयलें आसा कारण ते लोकांचे प्रायवसी डिस्टर्ब करता ते केन्नाय सकाळ फांतोड पासून ते रात पर्यंत तांचे हे चालू आसता फोटोग्राफी आनी येवन लोकांची प्रायवसी पळयना आनी अशें करून तांचे ह्या लोकल जे लोकल रावता हांगा तांकां खूब त्रास जावपाक लागल्या आनी फाटले खास करून आफ्टर कोवीड हो प्रॉब्लेम चड जाला कारण हालीं तेंपार ट्युरिस्ट खूबच जावपाक लागल्या आनी तांच्यांनी खूब कंप्लेन्स केल्यो पूण कांयच फरक पडना अशे तरेचे बोर्ड हांगा लायिल्ले आसा नो मोटरायज झोन म्हणून पूण ताका कोण किंमत दिना लोक जाय तशे गाडये व्हरता आनी लोकांचे जनावरांनी भितर पे करता तांची प्रायवसी डिस्टर्ब जाल्ली आसा आनी इवन अशें जाल्यार कांय इन्सिडेंटान भितर ट्युरिस्टांक आनी लोकलां भितर झगडीं जाल्लीं आसा आनी जावपाक लागल्या सो हो इतलो बरो कसो एक्सपिरियन्स तुमी
See, we live in a residential area. Fontainhas is a residential area. Sometime back, we did not have this nuisance of excessive tourism that's happening. So now every day when the tourists come over, what comes along with it is so much of noise and such an invasion of privacy because we cannot leave our doors open, we cannot leave our windows open because every now and then they're either peeping inside or they'll just directly walk inside if your doors are open. So we feel we are like as if we're living in a museum because people are coming to see. See, I know it's a good thing, and it's good for the government, but there has to be measures put into place. There has to be proper signages. There has to be no parking. There has to be because when you see this excessive tourism, half of them are going the wrong side. Half of them are zooming. Many of them, and mostly we have the problem of Instagrammers, whereby they're constantly coming in posing for photographs, and so it's become a huge nuisance. And we need to have the authorities mark this as a no photography zone because this is such an invasion of privacy. Every time our houses are clicked, they peep inside, they're clicking. I mean, where is the privacy? We have to lock our doors and our windows, and it's just terrible. So the government really needs to think properly. And I think the major problem also is that the tourism department, if I'm not mistaken, has promoted the Latin quarters as like the place to go to. Now, if you do a promotion like that, naturally anybody and everybody, all sort of tourists are going to come and visit this place. No, it's not right? They need to have certain guidelines, and tourism can depict so many other places. Why just the Latin Quarter? It's really unfair for the residents. Very, very unfair. Of security, I mean, if your house is being clicked, if your windows are open and inside is being clicked, it's a huge matter of security. Huge matter of security. Unless we keep everything shut.
So there's been a jump in the tourism over here in Fontainhas around the time when a little after COVID became a little safer to travel after COVID. There was already some tourism to this area, but now that's become a little more. And I think that this thing of COVID resulted in a lot of people traveling within the country itself. So it opened up all these kind of things. So we do get a lot of tourists, but this whole thing of what is causing us nuisance right now is the fact that there's a number of people who are Instagrammers, yeah, and who want to be photographed all over the place and want to share their photos on travels and things like that. Basically, the thing that they do is that they sometimes come with a team of photographers. Sometimes they come with their own assistant to photograph them at various locations, and sometimes they even come with the drones.
It starts from early morning right up to evening. Of course, there are a few hours of break, but it goes on right up to late evening. And I mean, the photography and wedding pre-shoots and everything is happening here. It's really annoying, really annoying. I don't know who to complain to. I mean, everything is falling on deaf ears. I mean, we go to this point has been raised by many residents, and you know, I feel that the authorities are it's just falling on deaf ears. Something needs to be done. They need to really act. And you know, have people deployed or have the police deployed here, or people from the municipality. Now they put, for a simple thing, they've put the notice boards there. If you can maybe just see those notice boards, tourism department has placed that this is a residential area, be mindful. Now it's common sense. When you put a board like that, you have to have also, if you disobey these rules, there's a fine. There is no mention of a fine. So I mean, what sort of a childish, who is setting up these rules in such a childish manner? I do not understand. I mean, this is common sense, and I feel today common sense is not common anymore. Seriously, it's very annoying. Now you have, this is also now by the mandate of the collector. It's mentioned in non-motorized zone. Okay, non-motorized is mentioned, big board is put there, this high. Now, if you trespass this and you don't obey that, where is the fine? That fine is not mentioned there. Now, let's say, for example, they put this board. Thousands of times people are going. Is there a traffic police deployed there to catch people? It's a good way also for the government to earn money, no? I mean, if you give their fines, at least put somebody here. Nothing. Such a haphazard, man. I'm very disappointed with this whole system, seriously.
So one part of it is photography. The second part of it is because Fontainhas now is opening up a lot of restaurants. Yeah, Fontainhas, Santome, Mala. You know, there's been a jump in the number of restaurants, and that is because probably the attractiveness of this place for tourism. Yeah, the thing is that all these restaurants come with this issue of people having to reach the restaurants, and a lot of the tourists who come with their own vehicles, or they come with rented vehicles, and they want to park it right in front of the restaurants. Now, this problem has been partly addressed by the municipal council corporation, and they have given us solutions which are kind of working. Yeah, the only problem is when we have a very arrogant tourist, then we have to get into a confrontation with them or call the cops and things like that, which normally we try to avoid. But if it's the person is really not is causing a nuisance, then we have to call the cops to deal with it, and cops do come. Yeah. The third part of the problem is, you know, the tourists knocking at our doors sometimes, you know, not understanding that our house is a house, you know, and wanting to explore it and things like that. But that also now, more or less, because of Google Earth and things like that, they can understand that these are not a commercial establishment. Google Earth says that this is a restaurant, that's a this, helps them. Yeah. And last of all is because there's this whole attraction for restaurants and things like that, there's a kind of a war going on between the restaurateurs, among the restaurateurs, wanting to have the greatest visibility. So we have started seeing, you know, boards and signages and all along the road.
Because this is such a cultural place, it's such a, you know, harmonious neighborhood, and every single time, if not me, there's some other neighbor constantly having fights. Because when we tell people don't click pictures of our home, they start, you know, sometimes abusing, and sometimes it gets really as if, you know, like very verbal, and it's almost like physical, where they come to sort of like, you know, demand, like, how can you tell us not to? You cannot means you cannot. And then the worst thing also, they go in front of the chapel, they put their legs up on the wall and everything. They do all of these things in front of the chapel. They wouldn't do this in front of their holy temples, no? Every sacred place has to be respected.
आनी फॉन्टेनास जेन्ना प्रमोट करता जगभर तेन्ना कांय प्रिकॉशन्स घेवपाक जाय आनी कांय फक्त बोर्ड लायलो म्हूण जालना, एक हांगा पोलीस दवरचो पडटलो आनी जे कोण अनरुली ट्युरिस्ट आसा तांकां कंट्रोल करपा खातीर तांकां कांय फायन दिवच्यो पडटल्यो. सो हें जायना म्हणून हांगचे लोक सामके वाजेल्या आनी हे हो जो प्रॉब्लेम असोच उरलो जाल्यार फॉन्टेनासाचें नांव बदनाम जातलें, कारण हांगा आनीक झगडी जातली आनी बेश्टी घरचे भायर ट्युरिस्टांच्या आनी लोकलां मदीं हे तरेच्यो अशे तरेच्यो झगडी जावप बरोबर न्ही. दुसरी गोश्ट म्हणजे हांगा आतां इतले ट्युरिस्ट जावपाक लागल्या ताजे खातीर ही एरिया खूब रेस्टॉरंटां आयल्या आनी रेस्टॉरंटा खातीर पार्किंग प्रॉब्लेम जावपाक लागला. सो हाजे खातीर कांय उपाय करचे पडटले. सो अशे तरेचो हो फॉन्टेनास एरिया जी गोंयची एक बरी आनी युनीक अशी एरिया आनी ताजी सक्सेस आनी ताजी पब्लिसिटी आनी ते इतले फेमस जाल्ले आसा तेंच तांचे सद्याक ह्या लोकल लोकांचे एक दुखणें जाला. सो हाजेर जाता तितले बेगीन ट्युरिजम डिपार्टमेंट आनी बाकीचे जे ऑथॉरिटीज आसात तांणी एक्शन घेवन हे जे अनरिली ट्युरिस्ट आसा आनी जे लोकांक हांगा त्रास करता अशे लोकांक कंट्रोलान हाडपा खातीर कितें तरी उपाय जावपाक जाय जाता तितले बेगीन.